All right, guys, I am super excited today because I have something really cool to share with you. It's something I have been testing since all the way back in September. That's right, it is finally the release day for the TBS Tango 2. Look at it. Just look at it in all its glory. That's right, I got two of them. The reason I have two of them, I'm going to explain. I have been testing this thing since all the way back in September. I got my first one in September. At that time, nobody was even flying it yet. There were only two in the world, and I've been working with Trappy to make sure that 2 weeks that you guys have been waiting on gets all of the bugs ironed out in this thing, and I'm glad to say that it is phenomenal. I am loving this radio. I have completely switched over. It didn't take me any time. Once I had flown it the first few times, I was like, all right, I'm going to move all of my gear over onto the Tango 2 because this is the radio that I have been waiting for. So without any further ado, let's just dive right in and give you guys a look at this beauty. Let's take a look at what's going to be coming with your Tango 2 and do a quick little unboxing. Just to be clear, this is the box that was sent to me. It is not necessarily the retail packaging. I don't know exactly how it's going to ship, but I felt like it was close enough that I could include my unboxing. So, nice. I mean, it's just a plain box, right? There's nothing... It looks like typical TBS stuffs. All right, so let's open it up. And inside, we have a Team Black Sheep lanyard. I'm assuming that you're going to get that if you order it with the lanyard attachment. This nice little plastic piece to hold everything in place. Tango 2 Pro model I have with the folding gimbals. And in addition, we have springs. Now, these springs are very important. It's going to come with the high tension springs installed. These are if you want a little bit less springy, if you want a little bit less force pushing it to center. And they also included with mine the U.FL to SMA mod. As you can see, it's just a little 3D print that is going to allow you to mount that much like the stock antenna, so that you just have a SMA connector coming out of the top of your radio. All right, and that's going to do it for the boxing. All right, now that you've seen what it is that comes with your radio, let's talk about some of the things that are not going to come with your radio that are add-ons that you can get for your Tango 2. Two things that are available from TBS on day one with the Tango 2 are going to be your lanyard mount. Now, I know that it's kind of weird. I don't know what to tell you. The lanyard mount is not included. You know, okay, to me, this is not a big deal. I don't use a lanyard. If it were my radio, I mean, I've got the little thing on this one. This guy has nothing. I don't need the lanyard mount. It's technically just extra weight. I don't know that I would spring for it, but I know that most guys that fly FPV are using a lanyard. Now, does this thing balance when hanging from the lanyard? Yes, it balances very well. You can get this nice metal lanyard mount that's going to screw into the front of your radio. It is very secure. It's not going anywhere and has a great balancing point for the radio for $5.95 from TBS. Another great mod available right off the bat, and if I was buying a Tango 2, this is definitely one that I would pick up right off the bat, and that is an SMA mod. The transmitter module in the radio has a U.FL connector, and so all you need is a U.FL to SMA adapter, right? And then you can run whatever antenna you want. If you want to run your diamond, you can. If I wanted to run my tuned antenna, I could. So I highly recommend that SMA Mod. It comes with a 3D print that is going to mount the SMA right here so that the top of your radio will just be an SMA, and you can do it. Now, I've been rocking it with the stock antenna because I want to find out just how good the stock antenna is. And I gotta say, I've been really, really pleased. Now, remember that this is a linear antenna. If you run it horizontal, you're gonna have a dead zone to the left and to the right of yourself. And so don't do this for most FPV activities. I would do this if I'm diving a building, etc., because I don't want the dead zone. I don't want the dead zone pointed straight up. I want them this way and that way. But if I'm flying a park, I always do this because I don't spend a whole lot of time way up above myself, right? So you just kind of have to know your polarization, know where the antenna is good. They have a radiation pattern. If this is a linear antenna that goes all around it this way and just dead zones out the points, right? So know your polarization. Now, I do like that the SMA mount option is available, but I'm not sure that I'm going to be putting it on my radio anytime soon, unless I find that the stock antenna isn't good enough, and that just hasn't been my experience. I've been rocking it at 100 milliwatts, which is what I ran my old Crossfire at, and I've not had a single fail-safe. I have been pushing the limits of it. I've found that it performs exactly as before. Lately, I've been going to 250 milliwatts on this and running dynamic power, and I see that like 99.99999% of the time, the transmitter never gets up above 25 milliwatts. I'm using the Unify Evo video transmitter, which has the power output details right there on the OSD, so I can see when it's bouncing up and down, and I know exactly what my transmitter power output is actually at while in flight with the dynamic power. So I've found that even you could probably set your transmitter to 25 milliwatts and fly 90% of the spots that you ever fly. I like having it at 250 because then it's there if I need it, and the dynamic power has been hanging in there solid for me. There are two iterations of the TBS Tango 2. We have the standard, which is available for $159.99, and we have the Pro model, which is available for $199.99. It's the same transmitter, same software, mostly the same hardware, but you get a gimbal upgrade. Both of them have the Hall effect sensor gimbals. Both the mechanism around them are the same, but the Pro model has this nifty little trick. Let me see if I can catch this here. The nifty trick is you're able to pull out on the gimbal and fold it over. Just like so. So no more need for gimbal protectors when you put your transmitter in your bag. Simply fold the gimbals over, slide it into your bag, and it's locked away and ready to go. Now when it's time to fly again, all you gotta do is flick up, boom, boom, and you're ready to go. I was skeptical about the design when I first heard about it. I just assumed that maybe if we're having this folding mechanism, there may be some play in the gimbal, but because of how the shaft slides down in, the mechanism for the joint is inside, and there is no play. When it is fully retracted, there's no play in the gimbal. They work great. I'm loving that design. So what's new about the Tango 2? Well, let's talk, for starters, just the form factor. If you are familiar with the TBS Tango, it is a large radio. There's no two ways about it. It's a very large radio. It's got a built-in 5.8 video receiver and a screen. It's just not your typical FPV style radio. Most people are familiar with the X9D, the QX7, maybe the Nirvana, maybe the X-Lite, which is a little bit more like the smaller radios. But this is much smaller than most of your traditional ones. It's on par size-wise with something like the X-Lite, but unlike the X-Lite, this has full-size gimbals. That's right. I'm loving these gimbals. I always liked the form factor of the X-Lite, but I could never fly it because of the gimbals. Me personally, I'm a thumb flyer, and I have a hard time flying with thumbs and keeping the yaw centered throughout the travel on something with the gimbals like on the X-Lite. I just can't do it. I've tried. It's just not the radio for me. So when Trappy told me that he was working on a compact radio that has full-size gimbals, I was all about it. Another thing that you'll notice, big takeaway, is there's no Crossfire module on this guy. That's right. It has a built-in Crossfire. Now the Crossfire module that it is in it is like the is it the micro? It's like the little one. All right, not your full-size Crossfire. It's capable of up to 250 milliwatts, and in my experience, that has been more than enough output power to take care of me. We have this very nifty, handy antenna design. The antenna on it is able to fold down so that it's nice and compact, stays out of the way when you're putting it in your bag, and is capable of being held in a horizontal polarization or rotate to vertical polarization. And when it's in vertical, it makes for a nice little kickstand. That's how I usually rock my radio. When I set it down, it holds it at a nice 45 degree. Seems to be pretty sturdy. Digging that. Okay. Now, what else do we have on the radio? Let's just hardware wise. So we've got gimbals, we got folding antenna, we have switches. Now, the switches on the Tango are not your traditional switches. Now, if you think about it, the switches on your radio are one of the weak points. One of the things that are getting snagged when you're putting the radio away. One of the things that likely break off if you were to drop your radio. I know that I've broken many switches off of various radios over the years. So the switches on your Tango are a little bit different. We have two position switches. We have two 3-position switches, and we have 2 momentary switches. Now your momentaries are on the back of the radio. They're right here. They're just little buttons. All right, they work great, sound great. They're momentary switches. You push them, you get it to read out some telemetry data or whatever you want it to do. Read a timer, how much time you have left. I've programmed my momentary switches to do many things over the years. Maybe you have one of your momentaries as a 2-position arm programming. I think Bardwell does that. But yeah, I do a different 2-switch arm setup. But let's not get into my programming just yet. Okay, what else do we have? So on the top of the shoulders, we have 2 position switches. It's hard to see here, but when you can feel just by rubbing your finger across it, whether it is pushed in or out. It's very tactile. It's very easy. I've been using this as my arming switch with no problem. My 2-position arm, I always do it on one shoulder. So I have this 3-position switch. That's where your 3-position switches are, by the way. 3-position. Rockers. So I have to have my 3-position switch up and then this pushed in. So then if I go to crash and I hit any button with my left index finger, bam, I'm disarmed. Or bam, I'm disarmed. Either or will disarm my quad. So that is your 2-position and 3-position switches. It's the same on both sides of the radio. All right. And that does it for your buttons and switches on the radio. Actually, I take that back. That is almost everything. On the front of the radio, we have this scroll wheel that's also a select. So you can press in to select, scroll. We have menu, page, and exit. And if you are familiar with OpenTX, you'll be familiar with those controls. It is like every other OpenTX radio. You have those 3 buttons and some device to scroll with. That's right, it is running OpenTX. Now currently, I'm not sure exactly how it's gonna be on shipping. Right now, it's running what's called Freedom TX. Now Freedom TX is a fork of OpenTX, and TBS did a fork of OpenTX only for the development of the radio. The plan is to have it merge back into OpenTX. They just didn't wanna have to be asking the OpenTX developers to implement a whole bunch of new things while they were developing the radio. They wanted to have their hardware hammered out and then go back to OpenTX and be like, hey, here's the radio, please support it. So that will be getting rolled back into OpenTX. So your OpenTX configurator, all of that stuff is going to work. You can copy models right onto this thing. All of that is going to be functional. Now your power button is hidden away at the bottom of the radio. It does work off of USB-C, and we have an audio jack. I don't know who does audio on their headphones, but you know, if you like to plug your headphones into your radio for audio, it does. The USB-C works for updating the radio. It works for using the radio as a controller in your simulator, and it works for charging the radio. That's right. There's a built-in LiPo battery. It's a 1-cell. I'm gonna open up the radio and show you guys the inside of the radio. It pretty much fills this entire case. It's a big radio. I've been able to use the Tango 2 in my practice. Now I've been doing pretty good about turning it off between flights and stuff. I typically fly anywhere from 6 to 12 packs in a session, and it will easily get me through like I'd say about 3 sessions like that. Now, if you do have the battery in your Tango 2 go dead in the field, all you got to do is plug it into USB. Either you got a power bank, or if you're like me and you use that ISDT battery checker that also doubles as, transferring your LiPos, your flight packs into USB chargers. This thing is awesome. By the way, if you don't have this, I'm just plug for ISDT. This guy, you plug in your battery on this side, it'll show you the cells and exactly what the charge is. I'm just gonna show you. I geek out. This is like one of my go-tos. Right there, you can see the health of every single cell. The exposure is not set for it. And then I can turn it on into USB mode, and that USB port then becomes a charge port straight off of my flight packs. So I use that all the time. If my Tango 2 starts running low on battery, all I gotta do is grab my nearest USB-C cable, because I'm getting a million of them with every Hero 8 that I get, and plug it in and charge it. So I'm loving that. I love that it's USB-C. That more things need to be just USB-C these days. Okay. I think that now we have covered everything. I just want to talk about the feel of the radio. The plastic that you see, it's a plastic radio. It doesn't feel like some forged from titanium gnarly thing, but it's a $160 radio, $200 if you get the Pro, and that's got Crossfire built in. If you were looking at getting like an X9D and a Crossfire module, that's $300. If you were looking at getting an X-Lite and that's probably still like $200 or more dollars, and you get crappy gimbals. So I am not hating on the plastic. Neither am I saying that it feels amazing. It feels very nice. So the back pieces here. This is a rubber insert that locks into the plastic. It has a very nice tactile feel. It's kind of an anti-slip thing. When I first got the radio, I wasn't used to holding it. I did have like one instance where it squirted out of my hand because of the way I was gripping it. If you hold on to these, it's a little bit on the slick side. It's easy to lose it, especially in the summertime. You're a little bit sweaty. So what I did with this radio is I added on one of my Peak Design. My vlog camera has these. When I go vlogging, I have my wrist strap, and I can just clip in my wrist strap so that there's no chance of me dropping the radio. All right, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video and learned everything that you were hoping to learn about the Tango 2. If you like this video on the Tango 2, be sure to subscribe and click that bell, turn on notifications so that you don't miss more content about this radio. I'm gonna be doing more videos about my setup, how I've got my model set up in the Tango 2. Be sure to check out all the merch below. If you've been liking your Power Loop shirt, just know that there are hoodies available now. It's cold out. You got to Power Loop some hoodies. Go get them. All right, that's all I got for you guys right now. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you back here next time.